America, we got to get back to doing what's expected of us as free citizens in this democracy. That means being tolerant, being respectful, staying informed, and being engaged. I'm former Congressman Joe Walsh. Follow me here and join the millions of Americans who are renewing their social contract with each other. The social contract, it's on us. Hey, welcome Tuesday. Welcome TikTok. Welcome everybody. The social contract, it's on us. I love that expression. This is Joe Walsh, former Congressman Joe Walsh, former presidential candidate Joe Walsh, former Republican Joe Walsh. The social contract. I get asked every day, why is the name of this podcast? What is the social contract, Joe? It's easy. It's everything that is expected of us as citizens in this democracy, what we are responsible for, what we're responsible to do. That's our social contract with each other. We want to keep this thing going. We want to keep this democracy going. We want to keep freedom going. Screw the politicians. It's on us. It's on the citizen. It's on the people, of the people, by the people, for the people. It's on us to be, and it's simple. Our responsibilities are simple and basic. All we have to do as citizens in this great experiment is be tolerant of the differences, be respectful toward people who differ with us, stay informed, and be engaged. Man, be in the game. Run for office, back candidates, get involved in causes, petition your legislators, stay informed, stay engaged. That's our social contract with each other. If we as a people stop doing these things, our democracy goes away. Hey, a few things I want to get off my chest this morning, TikTok and everybody else. And here's point number one, and I promise you, this will be my last word about January 6th for now. For now. Point number one, do not let them rewrite the history of that day. Amen. Repeat after me. Everybody listening this morning, do not let anyone rewrite the history of what happened on January 6th, of what happened 4 years ago yesterday. Don't let anyone rewrite that history. You lived it. We lived it. You saw it. I saw it. You witnessed it. You watched it. I witnessed it. I watched it. You remember in real time how you felt. Oops. Don't let anyone rewrite that history. Donald Trump has been on a 4-year effort to whitewash January 6th, to rewrite January 6th, to make it a lovely, peaceful, patriotic day. This is who Trump is. This is what Trump does. But all the Republicans over the last 4 years have chimed in and joined him, trying to rewrite the history, whitewash the history. Oh, look at, they said yesterday, Republicans came out yesterday and said, oh, look at, yeah, Kamala Harris did her job. Look how peaceful it was. Come on, let's move on. Let's just move on. Can we stop all the talk about January 6th? Can we all hold hands and hug now? Kumbaya. Fucking Trump and his people are saying that. The gall, the nerve to say, move on now. As a nation, we should never move on from January 6th to make sure January 6th never happens again. You don't move on by forgetting what happened. You don't move on from 9/11 by ever forgetting what happened on 9/11, by ever forgetting the evil that hit us on 9/11, who hit us, why they hit us. Same thing with January 6th. We don't move on by forgetting what happened on January 6th, by forgetting who attacked our government, our people's house, who tried to overthrow that election. Now, I'm just going to quickly make one final January 6th point here. And by the way, this is really important because not only this Tuesday is Donald Trump, right, at the end of trying to rewrite the history of January 6th, Donald Trump in 2 weeks will probably pardon every January 6th offender. And when Donald Trump in 14, 13 days pardons all the January 6th offenders, the rioters, those people who committed serious felonies, attacking and injuring police officers, attacking and damaging public property, conspiring to stop an official government proceeding, all of those violent offenders, Donald Trump will pardon them all. And when Donald Trump pardons them all, which is wrong, not a Republican will stand up in the public square and say, Mr. President, don't. It's wrong. They'll all be quiet, or they'll all do what Republicans have done in this age of Trump. They'll all get down on their knees and echo what Trump says. So because of that, because of what's going to happen in 13 days, I think it's really, really important to remember what all of these Republicans said in real time. The documentation, the history needs to be there. What they said in real time. By the way, I'm focused on Republican elected officials right now, what these Republican elected officials said in real time on January 6th. All the people in my right-wing media world, the Ben Shapiros and the Sean Hannitys and the Laura Ingrams, man, they all, right, we've documented that. They were all scared, angry, and about what happened on January 6th, and they all condemned it in real time. But then they all did the Hannity. And the Hannity is you all forget what you said and you all bow down to your master. And they all did that. But Republican elected officials who right now are allowing Trump to rewrite the history, Republican elected officials who will keep their mouths shut when Donald Trump pardons January 6th offenders, it's important to remember what they said on January 6th in real time. People like Republican Senator John Thune, the majority leader now of the Senate. On January 6th, John Thune said this: "The Capitol is a shrine to democracy for our country and the world. It was overrun by violent extremists seeking to overturn an election. We must hold those responsible to account." That's what John Thune said 4 years ago. John Barrasso, Republican senator from Wyoming, another Senate Republican leader, said on January 6th, "This violence and destruction have no place in our republic. In our republic, it must end now." Senator Mitch McConnell, in real time on January 6th. January 6th was a disgrace. American citizens attacked their own government. They used terrorism to try to stop a specific piece of domestic business they did not like. Senator Marsha Blackburn from Tennessee, she's now one of Trump's biggest cheerleaders. Here's what Marsha Blackburn said on January 6th. These actions at the U.S. Capitol by protesters are truly despicable and unacceptable. While I am safe and sheltering in place, these protests are prohibiting us from doing our constitutional duty. I condemn them in the strongest possible terms. We are a nation of laws. Remember what Republicans said in real time. Don't let them rewrite history. Senator Rick Scott of Florida in real time. No one has a right to commit violence. What happened today at the Capitol is disgraceful and un-American. So says another Republican. Oops. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik. Hang on, TikTok. I'm getting so excited and wrapped up. I lost you there. I got to be careful not to move my table. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, who's now Trump's pick to be the U.S. ambassador to the UN. She said violence was anti-American and all the violence on January 6th must be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. So says Elise Stefanik. Current Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. I unambiguously condemn in the strongest possible terms any and all forms of violent protest. Any individual who committed violence today should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And then Johnson went on to say, it is beyond time to remember that while we disagree, we're all Americans, and there's far more that unite us than divide us. I extend my deepest thanks to the United States Capitol Police. Speaker Mike Johnson. Marco Rubio, Senator Marco Rubio, Trump's pick to be Secretary of State. What did Marco Rubio say on January 6th? Quote, there is nothing patriotic about what is occurring on Capitol Hill. This is third world style anti-American anarchy. Hey, MAGA, that's what Marco Rubio said in real time. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, in real time, what did he say on January 6th? Violence or rioting of any kind is unacceptable, and the perpetrators must face the full weight of the law. The Capitol Police do an admirable job, and I thank them for their hard work. Do not let them rewrite history. Remember what they said in real time. Lindsey Graham. Oh, silly, silly, silly Lindsey Graham. What did the most pathetic politician in our time say in real time? Lindsey Graham said those who made this attack on our government need to be identified and prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. Their actions are repugnant to democracy. So said Lindsey. And when Trump pardons the Jan 6 offenders, Lindsey will be the first one supporting it. Utah Senator Mike Lee, on January 6th, Mike Lee said, the violence at the United States Capitol is completely unacceptable. It's time for the protesters to disperse. We're working to finish our constitutional duty to finish counting votes today. Oh, Mark. Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana, now one of the Trumpiest of the Trumpy senators, he said, on January 6th, the Capitol Police have done an extraordinary job keeping us safe. I'm thankful for their heroism. I condemn this violent assault on the democratic process and will not be intimidated by a mob that confuses chaos and destruction with strength and wisdom. Congressman Jim Jordan, MAGA tough guy. What did Jim Jordan say on January 6th? He said, stop this violence. Support the Capitol Hill Police. Ted Cruz, do not let them forget. Ted Cruz in real time on January 6th said, violence is always unacceptable, even when passions run high. Anyone engaged in violence, especially against law enforcement, should be fully prosecuted. Steve Scalise, number 2 in leadership in the House, In real time, January 6th, Steve Scalise said, attacks on law enforcement officers trying to do their jobs are never acceptable, period. Tom Cotton, another MAGA tough guy, said on January 6th, don't let these Republicans forget what they said. Do not let them rewrite the history of this day. Tom Cotton on January 6th said, and I quote, this violence is unacceptable and needs to be met with the full force of the law. Tim Scott, South Carolina senator, the violence occurring at the United States Capitol right now is simply unacceptable, and I fully condemn it. Team Scott is safe, he said. Senator Ron Johnson, loony tune from Wisconsin. Even Ron Johnson on January 6th said, the Capitol Police have acted with incredible professionalism. I sincerely thank them for their service, and I condemn all lawless activity. Former Congressman Tim Walz, who's now Trump's pick to be the national security advisor, what did Republican Mike Walz say in real time? Here's what Mike Walz said. This is despicable. This is not who we are as a country. In America, we solve our disputes through debate, discussion, courts, and judges. There is no place for violence. Do not let these Republicans try to rewrite history. Rand Paul. Oh, Rand Paul. Principled libertarian Rand Paul. January 6th, Rand Paul said violence and mob rule is wrong and un-American, and it will not bring about election reform. Today's mayhem sets back any intelligent debate for a generation. Stop it. Senator Steve Daines, I condemn any kind of violence and intimidation. This is unacceptable. Republican Senator Deb Fischer, Nebraska, these rioters have no constitutional right to harm law enforcement and storm our Capitol. We are a nation of laws, not some banana Republican, some banana republic. This must end now. Don't let them forget what they said in real time when the Capitol was under attack. Oklahoma Senator James Langford, Republican, peaceful demonstration is an American value. Violent destruction is not. Attacking police and destroying the Capitol is never a pursuit of truth and freedom. Never. Two more. Wyoming Senator Cynthia Lummis. Call it what it is. This is what she said on January 6th. An attack on the Capitol is an attack on democracy. Today, we're trying to use the democratic process to address grievances. This violence inhibits our ability to do that. Violent protests were unacceptable this summer, and they're unacceptable now. And I end this with one final quote. A week later, Donald Trump himself, who spent the past 4 years turning January 6th from a horrible day into a beautiful day. 1 week after January 6th, this is what Donald Trump said. The man who will pardon January 6th felons. 1 week after January 6th, Donald Trump said, I was shocked and deeply saddened by the calamity at the Capitol last week. Those who engaged in the attacks will be brought to justice. That was Donald Trump 1 week after January 6th. Now, that was fun to do because I love catching hypocrites in the act. I love calling out political hypocrisy wherever I can find it. But this is serious business. Every Republican official in real time, 4 years ago yesterday, condemned what they were watching, said it was un-American, said it was an attack on democracy, and said in real time that everybody rioting and attacking the Capitol must be prosecuted to the full extent of the law. That's what every Republican said then. 4 years later, what are they saying? I'm pausing on purpose. They're either silent or they are rewriting the history with Trump. It was a beautiful day. It was a patriotic day. By the way, the FBI was behind the whole thing. Let's move on. Don't let anyone rewrite the history of that day. Don't let anyone. Don't let these Republican hypocrites try to rewrite the history of that day. You can't stop Trump, and I can't stop Trump from doing that, because Donald Trump lies every time he opens his mouth, and all Donald Trump cares about is Donald Trump. And Donald Trump knows deep down that he caused January 6th. Donald Trump knows deep down that he should be in a jail cell right now for committing crimes trying to overthrow the election. So it's not a surprise that Trump, the past 4 years, has tried to rewrite that day. But don't let these Republicans. January 6th was a violent attempt to overthrow an American election. It must never, never, ever, ever, ever happen again. It will happen again if we forget. Bad shit, bad things. History repeats itself when a people forget. And all I'm saying right now, and I'm about to close with this one, all I'm saying right now is Republicans led by Trump have been on a 4-year bender trying to get this country to forget. Do not let them. I'm going to spend every breath I've got, not to let them succeed. I'm going to remind them every week of what they said in real time. And by the way, Merrick Garland, this is my beef number 2. Merrick Garland, are you listening to me right now? For all I know, Merrick Garland, our Attorney General, is watching the Social Contract with Joe Walsh right now. Merrick Garland, I got one message for you, Mr. Attorney General. Release that final fucking Jack Smith report now. Release it now. Put it out there now. Now is not the time, Merrick Garland, to be an institutionalist. No. I respect institutionalists. I was never an institutionalist myself. I'm one of those crazy populists, but I respect institutionalists. But now is not the time for institutionalism, not when in 13 days we're about to swear in a guy who has said he is going to set out to destroy our institutions. When Trump is sworn in, right? And he wants to destroy the Justice Department, destroy the FBI, destroy our intelligence agencies. Now is not the time, Merrick Garland, to sit back and say, look at me, I'm an institutionalist. I've had the same beef with Joe Biden. Joe Biden, who's been in Washington for 300 years. By the way, that's a big part of why Trump won, because Joe Biden has been in Washington for 300 years. Joe Biden's Mr. Institutionalist. A guy who he said is a threat to democracy won the election a couple months ago. Joe Biden agreed with me and said publicly Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And what does Joe Biden, the institutionalist, do right after Trump wins? He invites Donald Trump to the White House for a chit chat, because Joe Biden's an institutionalist, and he engages in a cooperative, peaceful transfer of power, a peaceful transition with the guy who has pledged to be an authoritarian. Why does Joe Biden do that? Because Joe Biden's an institutionalist. Joe Biden's going to go to Trump's inauguration. The man who Joe Biden knows and believes and said is a threat to our democracy, Joe Biden's going to go sit at his inauguration. Why? Because Joe Biden is an institutionalist. Well, when Trump lays waste to our institutions, all those institutionalists like Biden and Merrick Garland will be laying in the ground somewhere. Look, Donald Trump's lawyers are working their asses off to prevent Merrick Garland from releasing Jack Smith's final January 6th report, his final report. Trump's people don't want it out there. Donald Trump is scared to death of this final report. Why? I'll tell you why. Because there are dozens of people who worked for Trump, employees of Trump, advisors to Trump, friends of Trump, who all testified under oath. Not Democrats, people who worked for Trump, people who believed in Trump. They all testified under oath what they saw, heard, and witnessed. And what they saw, heard, and witnessed was Donald Trump doing whatever he could do to try to hang on to power. That's what's in this report. Members of Trump's own family testifying under oath that Donald Trump told them, I don't care what the election result is, I'm going to hang on to power. See, Trump doesn't want stuff like that out. His advisors who heard Trump say the same damn thing. Let's put up these fake electors. Let's pressure the members of Congress to lie to their constituents. This is all testimony that came under oath from people who worked for Trump. It's in Jack Smith's final report. Every ugly, hideous thing, un-American thing that Donald Trump did to try to hang on to power, it's all there. Everything he said to try to hang on to power. Trump doesn't want it out. I get that. They're pressuring Merrick Garland not to put out this final report. The final report needs to be out as much as possible so that none of us ever forget what happened on January 6th, but so that we don't allow Donald Trump to rewrite the history of that day. Transparency, right? MAGA, you all believe in transparency. Put the truth out. Put that report out. Let the American people see and read exactly what Donald Trump did to try to hang on to power. Transparency, accountability. Merrick Garland hasn't weighed in yet. The Trump team is going to do what they can to delay having this report come out until after January 20th. And Trump's attorney general is sworn into office. And then Trump's attorney general will do, right, whatever Donald Trump tells her to do, which is why it's so freaking important that Merrick Garland get this report out before January 20th. Merrick Garland waited too long and dithered and dathered and delayed, which is why Donald Trump never had to sit trial for the crimes he was indicted for, never had to face trial. Merrick Garland didn't push it. Merrick Garland wasted 2 years. The last thing you can do, Merrick Garland, the decent thing, is fight back, do the right thing, and release this final January 6th report. But my God, man, Donald Trump aims to destroy the Justice Department. Look who he's picked to run the Justice Department. Donald Trump aims to destroy the FBI. Look, Donald Trump has nominated someone to run the FBI who is on tape saying the FBI was behind January 6th. Merrick Garland, that's what Donald Trump thinks about the FBI. And that gives you an indication of what Donald Trump intends to do with the FBI. Damn it, Merrick Garland. Rip your tie off, throw your suit off, yank your shirt open, and release the damn report. I'm sick of these polite institutionalists. Put the information out there for America to see. Final thought. Did you see this yesterday? This tape came out. Let me set the context for you. The Vice President, Kamala Harris, swears in every member of the United States Senate who is elected or reelected to office. Kamala Harris, the Vice President, individually gives these people the oath of their office. It's a great thing. And the senators' families can show up there with him or her, pose, take their picture after the swearing in with the vice president. It's a nice, wonderful kind of tradition. I did that in the House. John Boehner gave me the oath of office. I had my family and some friends there. It's great. Nebraska Senator Deb Fischer, who won her reelection, was sworn in yesterday or a few days ago. The tape just came out yesterday by Kamala Harris. And in this swearing in of Nebraska Senator Deb Fischer, her husband, Bruce Fischer, is there with her. He's holding the Bible. She puts her hand on the Bible. And this is a bizarro 56 seconds. I'm not going to show you all 56 seconds, but I'll be honest with you and tell you what's in it. For 56 seconds, as Deb Fischer, his wife, is being sworn in with Kamala Harris right there, Deb Fischer's husband doesn't even look at Kamala Harris. I mean, it's freaking weird. Doesn't even look at her, doesn't even look up, doesn't smile, looks like he's freaking miserable. And then at the end, when the swearing in is complete and Kamala Harris shakes Deb Fischer's hand, Kamala Harris turns and reaches to Bruce Fischer right there. I mean, right next to him to shake his hand. Kamala Harris extends her hand. Bruce Fischer won't shake her hand. Barely even looks up and acknowledges her. I've got the end of this. Play it for me, Keith.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you. Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome. Okay, sure. Okay.
Look at how classy Kamala Harris is there. And again, let me provide the context. For the whole 56-second clip, Kamala Harris is really nice. Deb Fischer's a Republican. I'm sure Deb Fischer, clearly her husband, didn't vote for Kamala Harris. But Kamala Harris, throughout the interaction, and she's this way with every Republican and Democrat who's being sworn in, Kamala Harris is gracious and decent and open and friendly, nice, and trying to engage, right? Okay, they're on opposite sides of the aisle. But from the beginning of this clip, this guy, this son of a bitch, doesn't even look at her, won't even look her in the eye. And so right away, Kamala Harris kind of says, oh, well, that's kind of interesting, because Kamala Harris tried to engage him. Very nice, very respectful. He wouldn't even look at her. He would not even look up at her. Kamala Harris goes like this, and then Kamala Harris, again, with a nice smile on her face, and then Kamala Harris then conducts the swearing in. The swearing in's completed, and she shakes Deb Fischer's hand, tries to shake Bruce Fischer's hand. Bruce Fischer won't have any of it and barely looks at her. Now, Bruce Fischer has a cane in his right hand as he stands next to his wife. He's holding a cane in his right hand. He's holding the Bible in his left hand. that's no reason to not look at Kamala Harris when Kamala Harris tries to engage with him, smile at Kamala Harris, be nice and decent back. That's got nothing to do with a cane. A lot of Trump's supporters are trying to say this isn't a story because the poor guy had a cane in his right hand. Well, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Deb Fischer takes the Bible from her husband's hands. Bruce Fisher could have shaken Kamala Harris's hand with any of his hands. He clearly could walk without the cane. He made zero effort to respond to Kamala Harris when Kamala Harris extended her hand. He treated her like dirt. He treated her like some political enemy. He wanted nothing to do with her. I will add that when Deb Fischer was sworn in back when Mike Pence was VP, man, Bruce Fisher was smiling with Mike Pence and shaking Mike's hand and just having a great old time. He did the same thing with Joe Biden way back in the day when Joe Biden was vice president. But for some reason, Bruce Fisher treated Kamala Harris like absolute dirt. And of course, MAGA world, MAGA sphere, they're all celebrating it. Man, look at that guy. Look what our guy did. He fucking blew off Kamala Harris. Man, he made his point. Man, did you see how he stood up to her? Didn't even acknowledge her. Didn't even look at her. Did not even acknowledge her presence. MAGA world celebrated. Yeah, baby. That's MAGA. Fuck that. That's nothing to celebrate. What? We celebrate indecency? We celebrate divisiveness? You won. You celebrate cruelty? That's what we as a people should celebrate? Shouldn't we be decent? Try to be decent with everyone, especially after the game, after the battle, after the election. The election's over. Deb Fischer won. Clearly, her husband voted for Donald Trump. Donald Trump won. Whatever happened? What did you teach your kids, MAGA world? Didn't you teach your kids to be fucking good, gracious winners? You won. Why are you being a dick? That's not to be celebrated. Especially the people we disagree with, especially those people, shouldn't we treat them with decency? MAGA world celebrating this guy's cruelty, divisiveness, and indecency. I think what should be celebrated is Kamala Harris's decency, the way she handled herself here. When the husband of a United States senator treated her like dirt, basically gave her the middle finger, wouldn't even look at the vice president, what did Kamala Harris do in response? She smiled. She extended her hand. She congratulated Deb Fischer. Kamala Harris acted with decency. Kamala Harris was nice. Kamala Harris was gracious. Kamala Harris was what we teach our kids to do. You lost, still got a job to do. Kamala Harris lost, and there she is swearing in new members of the Senate. She's still doing her job. She's a good, gracious loser. Again, MAGA, TikTok, isn't that what we teach our kids to be? She should be celebrated. Everybody's focusing on Deb Fischer's husband, Bruce. And yeah, he was a dick. Focus on Kamala Harris. Take a lesson from Kamala Harris. This is how she ran her campaign. Decency is strong. Graciousness is being strong. being nice to and respectful toward the people you disagree with politically is a really strong, good thing to do. Having class should be lauded. I'll stop with this. What Bruce Fisher did yesterday was cowardly. To treat your political opponent after an election like she's your political enemy and you don't want to be in the same room with her, that's the stuff of cowards. Bullies are cowards. That's why I think Donald Trump's the biggest coward who's ever graced this planet. That's a cowardly thing to do. What Bruce Fisher did yesterday was cowardly. And it shouldn't be celebrated. And I know deep down, because I got more faith in you, MAGA world, than you have in yourselves. I know deep down you don't think that's the proper, good, strong American way to act. I know you don't believe that. Kamala Harris once again displayed courage. In the face of cruelty, she held her head high and did the right thing. In the face of someone figuratively giving the Vice President of the United States the middle finger. And that's what he did. Kamala Harris did the decent thing. She responded with grace. She responded with class. She acted with decency. She kept a smile on her face. This son of a bitch wouldn't even smile. We talk about the social contract. The social contract is acting respectful toward people with whom you disagree. Who acted respectfully here? Bruce Fisher, the senator's husband, or Kamala Harris? That's an easy one. That's an easy one. How about we all? How about we all, right, do what Kamala Harris did? How about we all be like Kamala? Remember the old ad? Like Michael Jordan. If I could be like Mike, I want to be like Mike. If I could be like Mike, I want to be like Mike. I used to sing that to myself all the time. Hey, like Kamala. Be like Kamala. Be like Kamala. Be decent. Be gracious. Like Kamala. If I could be like Kamala. Thanks for listening, everybody. My email, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. All one word, joewalshwhiteflag@gmail.com. That's all one word. Send me an email. Tell me everybody you know about this podcast. Tell everybody you know about this podcast. And as always out there today, like Mike, like Kamala, hold your head high, smile, be decent, be brave.
Thank you for listening. Remember to listen, share, and follow The Social Contract with Joe Walsh on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and everywhere great podcasts are found. And be sure to leave a 5-star review. This has been The Social Contract.